Hello guys, and welcome to another video from Oscar Cooper. I hope you were all well. Yes, we are ranking Capcom's PlayStation 4 games. This is a tough one. I did a bit of homework on this, put some surveys out on social media. Most of what I got fed back was in line with my ideas, but we're going to start with the weakest and we're going to rank their most recent titles on the system. We're going to start with a game called Marvel vs. Capcom 3, but we're also going to cover the most recent edition in that series, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I feel 3 is a little bit stronger, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why. Infinite is a great game, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's one of my favourite Japanese flair fighters, and I love fighting games. They really do fit my needs very well with the couch sort of versus aspect, but they kind of changed things a bit for the most recent. They missed out Wolverine, and they've put the character selection to only 2 characters, and they've sort of tweaked some of the controls a little bit in some directions. This is a big one for me because I love the idea of there being 3 as opposed to 2, and also the simplicity of switching the characters has been a little bit dumbed down. So I actually much prefer Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and this game is getting on a little bit. It actually came out in 2011, but it's got such a huge character roster, and if you've not touched it or gone anywhere near this and maybe have only seen Infinite, you should go out and actually have a look at Marvel vs. Capcom 3 because it's stronger in so many areas. One of the areas that I feel it's very strong in is visually. Even though Infinite is stunning, you know, the level of polish with that game's visuals are just amazing. And of course, Capcom's games, they always seem to have this really high standard when it comes to the final product. 3 has got this kind of cool cel-shaded art style. I really enjoy that, and it also has a slightly higher activity speed. I can't quite explain it, but its specials seem a lot more flashy, they seem a lot more lavish, and the game, I haven't had this actually backed up, may even run at a slightly higher frame rate. That is something I haven't got evidence on, but it feels that way. 3 kind of feels snappier and quicker, but I think the main sort of addition to 3 for me is the character roster, and to take away a character like Wolverine from a Marvel vs. Capcom game is kind of, you know, unforgivable. And we've also got some really sort of crazy outlandish characters in this, and it also works very well on a one-player campaign level. It's kind of got that sort of really awesome leveling up and unlocking ability that I really like in a fighter game. It sort of allows you to unlock character skins and open things up a bit more. Also, we've got some really cool characters in here, like the Akami Wolf, and we've also got Beautiful Joe in there as well. So yeah, first on the list, Marvel vs. Capcom 3. So next up is the DMC Definitive Edition, which is the Devil May Cry current gen remake. I was very dubious about this. I'm a Devil May Cry purist. I go back to 1 and 3. I feel they were 2 of the strongest DMC games ever made, and this game is synonymous with quality and high octane combat, and they haven't changed that at all. That's very important, that the guys at Capcom realised that they needed to go back to their roots a little bit with this one. 4 was a little bit weird and a bit crazy, but this one is aesthetically as stunning. I love how they have kept its roots intact. It's beautiful to play this game on a current gen system. It's a remaster. It came out on the 7th generation systems, but it looks great on the PlayStation 4. It's awesome having that high frame rate and those beautiful colors, etc. Dante is, you know, he always changes with every series in regards to character, but this one is a big jump, a risk in my eyes, but it's the story and the darkness of the character development is amazing, and Alex Garland, I think, is involved in some of the writing on this game, and that really shows. It's so adult, and it's so dark, and it's so tragic. A lot of these characters you actually genuinely care about, and you don't normally get that in a Devil May Cry game. What this is synonymous with is quality and Capcom's amazing ability to polish a game and actually add all this awesome stuff. And it's just, if you're not familiar with the series, it's a game that allows you to sort of kill multiple amount of enemies on screen at the same time, sort of operate on a 360-degree playing field, and you just really flow with your buttons and with your specials, and it scores you, you know, on performance. There's so much replayability with the Devil May Cry series. There's also the awesome unlock capabilities here. I love that. They haven't mucked around with that. There's no regenerative health, and it's cool to sort of purchase your upgrades and unlock stuff. I was really impressed with the evade system. I thought that worked very well. When I got that unlocked, that felt good, that felt really natural. The game, I think, is a winner. I think a lot of people might be a bit grumpy that it's on the list and they feel that it's an insult to the series. It isn't. It's extremely cool. I love the adult themes. I love how unapologetic it is and self-aware. A lot of the enemy designs are fantastic. Capcom always have a really high level in this direction. They're beautiful to look at on their detail, and the boss fights are amazingly outlandish. You've got platinum level of quality here with the sizes and the different tiered boss fight mechanics. They're absolutely excellent. I can't really complain about this game. It is quite low on this list, but I feel that it should be recognised. I mean, it kind of ticks the boxes in regards to how cool Capcom is, with a dark, adult, high octane hack and slash game that just really delivers. If you don't know anything about hack and slash games, this is up there with Bayonetta. I feel we don't have a decent Bayonetta on the PlayStation 4, so this kind of scratches that itch for me. And again, it does really well with the story. It works. These characters are just awesomely horrible and evil, and it really builds on why you're playing through this game and why you're defeating them and why you're defending some of the characters. It's excellent. Yes, Frank West, Dead Rising and Dead Rising 4, Frank's big package, all I say tongue-in-cheek title there. Christmas themed, and this is one of the few games on the list that I don't actually have experience with when it comes to its prequels, so I'm a little bit sort of fresh off the boat when it comes to the Dead Rising series, so I'm quite impartial when it comes to commenting on this game. But what this game does for me is just amazing. It genuinely cheers me up. It actually does make me chuckle out loud, and I'm also finding that amazing sort of action RPG unlock element to it with its gameplay style and just all the different crafting of the weapons, etc. If you don't know much about it, it's just really a zombie apocalypse where you're trying to survive with probably over 2,000 different types of melee weapon and ranged combat weapon that you can either put together or construct, and the same goes for the outfits as well. There's just something so cool about being Frank West and sort of unraveling a mystery with your camera and walking around and finding the game's different secrets. But what it really leans on and what it really excels in is this melee combat. It's especially melee combat. It kind of promotes the fact that you should be smashing the crap out of these zombies, and zombies are the key word here. The game manages to put a ridiculous amount of zombies on screen at the same time, and not in a way that makes you feel like you can't butcher the entirety of them. It's absolutely awesome and gratuitously violent to the hilt. I also actually quite like how they've handled the range combat as well. That works for me. I was thinking it's all just about swinging blindly at zombies, but it's not. You can flip to a gun really quickly and pop off headshots because you've got to deal with other humans who are equipped with range weaponry. Just look at the amount on screen. This is not a sort of scripted cutscene. You could get off this bike at any point and then just go and whack all of these zombies down. Absolutely amazing, and I love its Christmas aesthetic. I didn't get any footage of the mall stuff, but we've got a bit of Father Christmas here. The game opens in the mall just like some of the originals did, and it just is so funny, the stuff you can find and kill the zombies with. That keeps me going so much. I'm so impressed with it, and I love the sort of mini boss fights as well. Frank's one-liners and the stuff that he does and says, and the trouble he gets himself into in this game and the series, it's just so good. Dead Rising was such a beautiful, pleasant surprise for me that I'm so proud to have it on my system, and I love finding these new innovative weapons and just letting rip with them. That is enough reason to pick up and play this game to death, just to see how differently you can kill a zombie. Controversy. He's gone and put Resident Evil 5 on the list. What the hell is he thinking? Well, let me just unpack that for you a little bit. And spoiler alert, this isn't the only Resident Evil game obviously on this list, but Resident Evil 5 does something for me that I don't feel a lot of current gen games do. And what it is, it's a really good co-op campaign that is full playable in split screen, right? That's really important, and that we don't have that now with modern Resident Evil games. It also takes from 4 what I liked and leaves from 6 what I didn't like. Even though 6 came out after it, I still feel that there's that sort of whiff of 4 in this. A lot of people slated this game. I love it. I think that the upgrades and the weapons and the infantry management and the tank controls, I think it all works really well. And even though it's a previous gen game, it got a really good remaster for the system. Visually, when you play this game on a split screen, it just looks great. And the panic inducing sort of stuff that happens to you in this game, and the music and the production and the level design and the enemy design is just great. It's a beautiful AAA game. I mean, I remember being gobsmacked by the visuals when I played this on the Xbox 360, but I'm just even more happy with the remake and what they've done with the resolution and how they've improved the frame rates, etc., and how they just, you know, added all that content. There's loads of good DLC in here. The game is genuinely frightening. But of course, and if you know me and the channel, this has got a beautiful Mercenaries mode in it. Mercenaries mode was in 4, it was kind of the first game to feature it, but this one just went to town with it, with the amount of characters and the amount of different levels and the way the unlock mechanism works. It is genuinely adrenaline inducing and terrifying at the same time. It is such an addictive game mode. Just playing as these different characters with these different loadouts, playing in co-op with someone online, or playing this on split screen on your PlayStation 4 never gets boring for me. It's almost the sort of perfect add-on to a game like Resident Evil. The hordes of enemies, the differences, the mini bosses, the sound, the music, the crazy levels, the prison, you know, just the madness that can go on when you play Mercenaries mode on Resident Evil 5 really warrants it to be on this list. Okay, so there's 5 games left, and the next game is going to be Street Fighter Arcade Edition. Now this is complicated because this is technically Street Fighter 5, and they buggered up the launch of Street Fighter 5. They launched it way too early with no content. It was an embarrassment, and frankly Capcom, you know, should have not done that. But what they've done is they've given us the Arcade Edition as a free update to anybody that bought Street Fighter 5. Wow, what a brilliant gesture. Really thought that was excellent. Now the Street Fighter series is famous. It's probably the most famous fighting game on any console, and it goes back to when I was a kid and playing Street Fighter 2 on an arcade machine in a chip shop that was in my village, and it was really the door to my obsession with fighting games. It was a phenomenal arcade machine, and you know, I've always stuck with the series ever since. Street Fighter 4 is a very strong game as well, but we don't really have a legitimate copy on the PlayStation 4. We have to go with Street Fighter 5. Now I think this game deserves some attention if you're into the genre. If you're not, then you're probably thinking, yeah, I know about it, it's just not my thing. But I want to cover a few points. Visually, this game is stunning. Again, I always say this about Capcom games. It's colour, it's the way it performs and runs, its level of polish, its glitchlessness, i.e. the game never fucks up or screws up or crashes or misses a beat. It's just flawless level of polish and performance, as with most of their titles. This is really a flagship Capcom game, just in so many different directions. A lot of the characters are there in crossover with certain other titles, and they're just iconic. Ken and Ryu are just indescribable industry juggernauts with their names, you know. This game in particular has a very good online system. It has a really cool tier system with bronze, silver and gold in regards to playing other players online, and it's also got cross-platform, which is really clever. So you can play people on PC on your PlayStation 4 when you go online, and that's a very good idea. Now, they made some minor adjustments with the controls on Street Fighter V. You can see that you've got your V and your EX meters still. I kind of wasn't really happy about that, but I've got used to it. It's surprising how well I sort of came around to the idea. And I was also absolutely devastated to see Blanca disappear from the roster. I wasn't happy with Street Fighter V's roster, but the arcade edition has just sorted that out and said, there you go, have all them characters, no problem, apologies, and it was free. It was a free update. What a great idea. I mean, it was lucky because I nearly went and bought out Street Fighter Arcade till I sat down and booted up 5, and it's like, there you go, done. So that's the next one on the list. Let's move on. Dragon's Dogma is next, and you might think, whoa, okay, this is pretty high. Well, it did really well on the vote, and I actually really enjoy this game. If you don't know anything about it, it's an action RPG that's actually party based. So I reviewed this game in another video with a lot of other RPG party games, so I'll put that video in the link. But this is a real underground hit. It's an open world RPG which is sort of very lore based, and it's not too text heavy, but it's incredibly deep in regards to its character development and your non-player character development, and of course just the weapons and armor upgrades, etc. It's kind of like a thinking man's Dark Souls meets Monster Hunter, because the boss fights are massive in scale, and just the amount of hours that you can pump into this game are really huge. And I thoroughly recommend looking at this. If this is the first you've heard of this game and you're a fan of the aforementioned and you're a fan of Capcom, this does everything right. It's a credible example of very good world building, and it's also a previous generation game as well. And that's another thing, that a lot of these games on this list we had on the older consoles, and it's just a bit annoying that, you know, there's no massively new IPs coming out of Capcom at the moment. A lot of their best games are remakes and reskins, but this is really worth a visit. I love the atmospherics and aesthetics of the game. It's quite a dark game, and it's also quite, you know, visceral and raw in regards to storylines, etc. A lot of the characters, the world is not at peace by any stretch of the imagination, so it's quite cool to get involved with a lot of these stories, and there are a huge amount of stories. It leans on that side quest aspect and just finding stuff out for yourself and learning about everybody and how this world exists, and in relation to the different map sections and the different villages. It's very loot based as well. I love a good loot based game, and I love finding sort of hidden chests and cool weapons and sort of legendary armor from, you know, sort of delving into dungeons and getting to the end, and yeah, you get rewarded for it very well. It's also got some incredible enemies in it, and a really cool mechanic that allows you to actually climb the enemies and focus on a part of them, and that's an excellent idea. The dragons and monsters in this game, as the name suggests, are really the pulling point and selling point of it. They're massive, and they're really sort of angry, vicious creatures. A lot of imagination has been put into how they look and how they behave, and the AI for the people on your team is absolutely awesome. And it's got this really cool system where you swap in and out AI characters depending on your rank, and you do it in this lobby which has got other people's AI characters that they've built that you can actually employ and have on your team. It's called the pawn system. Very clever. And again, this game appeared on my party action RPG list, and I go into a lot more depth on that, so I recommend you look at that. And I also recommend you pick this up, and if you see it on hard copy, grab it, because I bought this digitally and I regret it. I would love to have the disc.
Leave it to me. You were right. I did lie to you. I shouldn't have.
Okay, so 3 games left. The third game is Resident Evil 7, and the poll that I did put Resident Evil 4 and 7 kind of neck and neck with each other, and I haven't included 4 because I'm not buying that game again. That would be my third purchase of it, I think, and so I'm just going to cover 7 because I feel it's kind of a bit of a groundbreaker and does a lot of other stuff very differently, and I want it to be sort of recognised for what it did. And secondly, there's an issue here. The Capcom have blocked the bloody record method on SharePlay with this, and damn, that's annoying. But they must have done it, you know, like Persona does with the story thing, and I can understand. But me being the resourceful son of a bitch I am, I got footage of this before they put that in, but I had to goddamn re-upload it, and this is why it looks so grainy, and because it's also VR footage, and because it's before I bought my PlayStation Pro. So you've got two massive factors there affecting these visuals. So apologies for that, but let's crack on and talk about why this game's so important. Well, it's blatantly obvious why this game's so important is because it saved the series. The series had dipped to a depressive low with Resident Evil 6 and just turned into something none of us really recognise as Resident Evil fans. Then it came out with the VR, full-blown VR game, which was also playable normally, but it really was a system seller. The Resident Evil 7, if you've never gone near this in the VR mode, you are missing out on one of the best horror experiences ever to be put down on a console, and I've said that before, word for word, on a lot of my Game of the Year videos and a lot of my best VR videos, so you need to go and check those out because I've gone into huge depth on why this game is so important. It's also fallen back on its heritage, and Capcom are quite good at doing that. They've really reviewed everything and thought, what are we doing wrong with this series? Why are people just moving away from it? And it's because it's gone from the original product and turned into something else. This thing just says, no, let's get the old fans back, let's turn it into a first person view, and let's get everyone in that really dark house. And what a brilliant game. Third on the list because it broke ground with its VR mode, it returned to its roots, it's still got that awesome stuff that we had in 2 and 4. I can still see that the infantry management stuff is around, and just the characters and the way that you unfold the story within this smaller house is absolutely excellent. Second on the list is Okami, one of my favourite RPGs of all time, from Clover, who are now Platinum. This is a remake. We got it in lovely HD. We have had that before on other systems, but it's great to have it on the PlayStation 4. Never heard of this game? Check this out. Yes, it's a gorgeous looking open world, cel shaded Zelda clone, but in my eyes I feel that this is more applicable for me because I love the Japanese mythology in the game. I love Clover Studios, I love the music, and I love the way that it looks and plays. It's absolutely awesome, this game. It's kind of based on the fact that you're in a world that's been taken over by some dark forces, some demons, and you play as a god, the dog god, and you go around rejuvenating the landscape using this brush technique. Now this brush technique is very clever. It allows you to pause the game and actually paint something, a symbol, which then transpires into either a weapon or some sort of game-changing mechanic, and we'll get into that a little bit more detail in a second. But it's the enemy types that work very well, and it's the amount of depth and the amount of hours that this game gives you, which impressed me as well. On the PlayStation 2 originally, and it rocked my world when it came out, absolutely. And I had to wait we all had to wait quite a long time for this to come out, and I think this came out at the start of the year, probably. I may have even been December, over Christmas time, and it looks great. It plays brilliantly. All frame rates have been up, and there's lovely detail on all the graphics, etc., and it's just a perfect excuse to go through the game again. If you've never seen it or played it, don't be put off by these sort of strange noises and visuals and characters. It's a game that's very heartwarming. It's very sort of close to nature, and it's also got a lot of unlocks and upgrades and weapons. You have a weapon on your back that you start with, but this can be changed to all kinds of weird stuff like whips and another sword, etc. If you saw the a Marvel vs. Capcom, you'll see that how devastating this character's abilities are. It's amazing, and look at this. You get to like feed monkeys and stuff. It's crazy. It's also got quite a technical requirement for this game to work as it did back then. Was quite a big thing. You can see that I can rotate the camera 360 degrees when it's paused in that brush mode, and I also have a choice of what sort of weapon I want to use. It could be a bomb, it could be the vertical slash, and there's all kinds of drops and loot systems based around the game that allow you to upgrade everything. All your abilities are interchangeable and everything is upgraded. So number 2 on the list is Okami. Man, I love this game so much. I again have reviewed this in a lot more depth on the channel. Go and check it out. I reviewed it on the day of release for the PlayStation 4. And a lot of people who've never heard of the game were like, I'm buying this and I love this. It's amazing. Okay, goodbye Nick, goodbye Lee, goodbye Elmar. This is the point in the video to which they turn off, because Monster Hunter World is my favourite PlayStation 4 Capcom game, and I learned the hard way that this game isn't really for everybody. And I bought 4 copies of this game on launch, and it was something I thought that my friends would get very into, and I realised that it's actually quite a niche game when it comes to preference. However, pleasantly enough, my girlfriend got into the game and has now become far more obsessed with it than I have, and is actually probably better at some of the stuff than me. So that was a pleasant surprise. You know, there was a silver lining to that situation. Now, Monster Hunter World is a port of the series onto the PlayStation 4, and if you don't know about it, it's a massive action RPG that revolves around killing various monsters and sort of taking their armors and their weapon types and fighting other monsters with them. It's a gameplay loop that's entirely loot based, but also allows you to rank up and fight better monsters the more you develop your armor and gear. There is a little bit of grinding in the game, to which I don't mind. If you're a Destiny fan or a Diablo fan, you'll be familiar with that game setup, and you know, grinding's only ever bearable when the gameplay is absolutely amazing, and this is that case here. It is so much fun teaming up or even on your own taking down these monsters, and some of them are broken down in stages. Some of them are huge, some of them are small and quick, some of them are large and slow. They all have different elements, etc., and they all allow you to unlock this beautiful armor, all in different types in regards to sections of the body. You know, you can mix and match, and they all have perks that work in conjunction with each other. The depth is crazy. I'm going to leave you with a bit of footage here. I'm actually fighting a monster that I know very well, and this is a bit strange because I know this thing so well that I'm predicting what's going to happen. What goes on is that the monster will retreat from the area, and I know this damn thing so well that I know when it's going to say, that's it, I've had enough, and I can actually stand and not worry that monster is going to attack me because I've planned this out and I know what's going to happen. That's a real moment for me to be that in touch with AI that I can predict something like that to happen. It was awesome. It felt awesome. It felt like I'd got somewhere with the game, and it just showed how much if you put a lot of work into this, you get huge rewards. DLC that's free, new monsters that are free, the worlds are beautiful, they play amazingly, every weapon has a personality. Monster Hunter World is Capcom's finest hour for the PlayStation 4. Go out there and buy it, or stick some stuff in the comments about how you feel about this list. Let me know, guys. And as always, I shall see you down there.